Welcome to Coffee with Bible and Pop Culture. There is a space for everyone at this table. We are here to ask hard questions, to have honest conversations, and to journey together. We're here to talk about the things that matter most to us and to remind you that you're not alone. Our heart behind this time is to ask hard questions and to really dialogue about what we're going through. Let's engage, explore, and enjoy. To Coffee with Bible and Pop Culture. Today we are joined by guest Yuzuri, and she is all the way in Japan, so she has woken up this morning to be with us, and I am so thankful, Yuzuri, that you are here with us and for this conversation that we're going to have today. It is a topic that is close to our hearts, and it's vulnerable and it's honest, and we're so thankful that you have allowed this space to have a conversation. So we invite you to engage with us here and explore how it makes you feel when you hear these things that we're talking about, and enjoy the journey and the conversation that is going to happen in the next minute. So Yuzuri, thank you so much for being here. You know what, really quick, I don't know if I introduced myself, but for those of you, if this is your first Coffee with Bible and Pop Culture, my name is Sabbath, and I am the Director of Community Development. Bible and Pop Culture is a nonprofit magazine that exists to provide community and demonstrating authentic Christianity, unafraid to ask hard questions, which is why we're here and which is what we're doing today. So Yuzuri, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, hello everybody, hi listeners. Thanks for coming in today. My name is Yuzuri, and I currently live in a very rural area of Tokyo. And I actually do botanical dyeing. And for a living, I teach English. So when I'm not teaching, I'm either in my garden taking care of my dye plants or spinning thread from cotton flowers that I harvested from my own garden, or dyeing fabric or anything I can find.
I love that. It's so amazing what you do with dyeing and the way that you're so connected to the land and earth all around you. I love that so much. I also don't think I talked about what the topic of our conversation is today, and that is deconstruction. And this is a word that we're hearing a lot of, especially in our generation. Today, we're just going to talk about the journey that you have been on. It's about this space that you've been walking through. Can you tell us a little bit about what initially drew you to God as a child and maybe your early encounters with Him?
It might be a bit helpful if I talk about my childhood and my spiritual background. So my parents were missionaries, and they were working for a Bible translation organization. So I actually grew up in Papua New Guinea during my childhood. So I was there for about 4 or 5 years. And then I came back to Japan with my family in a super rural area of Japan. So growing up in a international environment, as well as growing up in a rural area of Japan with a very strong Christian background from my parents, were a quite unique experience, I'm thinking. So I think that kind of formed my foundation of who I am, and my relationship with God, or how I viewed God or this world and myself. So I was always around Christian friends, Christian people, and I was in church all the time. So for me, my connection with Christianity was way stronger than my connection with Japanese culture or tradition. So I identify myself more with Christianity more than I did with Japanese culture.
Thanks for sharing. I think it's important for us as we talk about deconstruction and as we talk about the journey for all of us to reflect on like our faith family of origin, because it's such a part of the beginning of our journeys. I don't know if you know, but my mom is a missionary, and so she's been to Papua New Guinea like a handful of times in the last couple years. So I love that's a very different culture than where you are now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was literally running around barefoot. I was just enjoying myself, and yeah, I think I'm really thankful for that experience, of getting to know that there are different people from different places all over the world, people who talk in different language, and but we are all like coming together and around this one belief or with one this one faith.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so um we met each other in Bible college in Hawaii, and our curator and CEO, Mia, was also there with us, and most of our team. So tell us, why did you end up at Bible college in Hawaii?
Yeah, sure. So when I was in high school, I was really into dancing. And I was debating if I wanted to become a professional dancer or if I needed a place where I could sort of build a stronger foundation as a Christian leader. And fortunately, I happened to come across this information about this Bible college, which had a strong emphasis on Christian ministry leadership, and it also had a room to pursue creative arts. So that's how I ended up in Hawaii and meeting you and other people, amazing people there.
Okay, so today we want to dive into this journey of deconstruction. Can you tell us, from your experience, what is deconstruction and what happened for you to go into this space? Um, you wrote a piece for us, and it was called a dark night of the soul season. So can you just explain to us a little bit about what you felt during that time?
Yeah, of course. For those who are not familiar with this term or phrases, so faith shift or faith deconstruction is realizing that the worldview you have is something that was given or man-made, and it was something that was constructed at first place. And it's actually just one way of seeing the world or yourself or God. So, for someone who's going through a faith shift, would be someone who has realized, one, that you have been wearing a pair of glasses this whole time, and going through a process of reevaluating that lens or filter you have, and which is very, very deeply connected to your faith and your belief. So um, it is very messy, and oftentimes a lot of people, I think they feel, and I myself too, but I did too, but feel the sense of a huge sense of loss, especially for me. That was Christianity is what I grew up with the whole life, and it was also at the core of who we are as a family. Myself, but I think it's important to emphasize here as well about the difference between deconstruction and destruction. So faith deconstruction is different than destruction. Um, and for some who's going through a deconstruction phase, they might look like they're going through a destruction actually, because you do feel a lot of anger, a lot of tension, a lot of stress and confusion, and you feel like you're in a constant chaos, and you don't really know if you'll ever get to the other side. It's like you're constantly in a huge storm, and a lot of times it just comes at the most unexpected time. So it is messy, but it is different than destruction.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel I've heard people who have talked about being in this space feeling like it's taking forever. You know, you're kind of waiting for something to happen, but it isn't happening. And I think that's a real space, and it's a challenging space, like you said, to walk in, and it's messy. And I think as a generation, there are so many of people just like you and I who grew up in the church, and we've been handed, like you said, we were handed this belief, we were handed this set of glasses, and now we're walking through a space of whoa, like, you know, there is so much else out there, and I never heard that, you know, before. So now what do I do with it?
Right, exactly. So I think that one of the reasons why we feel like, or a lot of people have felt like it's taking forever is because, one, because we kind of lose the sense of time. I actually don't remember how I managed to go to work and come home every day when I was going through it. But all I could do is just take step by step. And all I knew was that there's no way, um, no, there's no other way than just moving forward, and there's no way back.
That's good. There's no way back. It's so true. And once you know, you can continue to move forward. Let's talk about your kind of journey towards reconstruction. Can you share with us a little bit what, you know, what that has been like for you?
So before I go into it, I just wanted to also touch on how things might not be linear, someone's spiritual journey. Yeah. So you might go through a deconstruction phase and then come back to reconstruction, and then you might go through it again, or it's never like once you go through it, you're done or over with it, or you might never go through it, or we just don't know, right? So so I think we need to be careful not to label someone's spiritual journey and calling it this. Oh, this is, oh, you are going through a dark night of the soul, or you're going through a deconstruction, you'll be okay, or like I'll be praying for you, da da da. So yeah, we just never know. Anyway, so my process towards reconstruction happened throughout these past couple years. It took a while, and I feel like I'm still going through it. But my deconstruction phase eventually slowed down. So it was like going through a huge storm and an earthquake all at the same time. And one day you wake up and realize that the wind is more calm, and the earth isn't shaking that bad, and you kind of like could feel like the sense of a tiny hope, and maybe the spring is coming soon, kind of a thing. So having kind of that emotional stability was very helpful for me to figure things out from there. I remember thinking to myself, like, what do I do next? And I didn't want to just pick and choose another worldview or another pair of glasses, because that would lead me back to where I was eventually, right? So I was determined that if anything, that has to happen from a very authentic place. And if that did not lead me back to where I was as a Christian, then I had to be okay with it. That's what I was telling myself. I also had to be strong enough to be rejected by other Christian friends, including my family as well. I actually did lose a couple of Christian friends because of that. But I think I was determined enough to not to settle down with just easy answer. Um, so I remember feeling very alone, not only because I kind of lost that close community where I grew up with, but that closeness with God that I used to always feel or have when I was growing up as a Christian. So, singing worship songs or reading something from the Bible or praying, all of them, or attending church, listening to sermons, that did not work for me anymore. And I felt like I um, needed something else or something. Um, I needed to place myself on a platform where I could be ready to um, maybe hear God's voice once again if I'm allowed to, kind of a thing. So as that platform, I chose botanical dyeing, especially indigo dyeing. And a lot of people ask me why. And I know it seems like a huge gap between, or a huge, there's a huge gap between my spiritual shift and botanical dyeing. But for me, that was very natural because I think one of the reasons why is because the color blue was very close to my heart. And indigo blue has actually been always my favorite color since my childhood. um, I felt like it reflected my inner world very well. And it also represented how I connected with God. Mm. Um, so, yeah, growing up in a Christian community, I don't think I've realized that or were able to articulate that or connect color blue and God in that sense. But after going through it, what was left in me was that invitation of blue. um, so, yeah, I felt like I was invited to dive deeper into this unknown, the color blue. It was like diving into a deeper place of the ocean, where nobody has ever gone, or I don't know, a place where it's very deep and scary, but also um, where there's full of a place that's full of life and authenticity and truthfulness. So I thought it was very appropriate to work with indigo plants and actually grow them from seeds, um, and go through this whole very long, time consuming process of indigo dyeing and working in sync with the nature and connecting with the earth. And throughout that whole practice of indigo dyeing, I felt like that could be my new sanctuary where I could, if I'm lucky enough, I could maybe connect with God or have that sense of connection, a personal connection once again.
I know it's a long, I know it's like you said, it's a long process. Is there like a shorter version of what it is that you actually do with the indigo? You know, like you said, you plant it right from seed and then you like bring it to life and then you extract. Can you like walk us through that? I know it's a long
Sure,
process.
sure. Yes, I will try. So botanical dyeing is a way of extracting or dyeing fabric with the colors from plants, and sometimes it's the colors can come from leaves or stems, tree barks, branches, or flower petals, or seeds, or actually like fruit skin, um, or roots. And sometimes you can simply just throw it into a hot water, boil it, and extract the colors. And sometimes it requires a very complicated process of fermentation. And indigo color is actually the result of a fermentation process. So in spring, around this time, I actually am planning on preparing going to my garden and preparing the soil pretty soon. But I prepare the soil in early spring and plant the indigo seeds. And in summer, I harvest the leaves, and leaves are what I use for indigo dyeing mostly. So after I harvest it, I could either use fresh leaves or keep it for later and let it go through a fermentation process. So I could use it for the indigo vat, which is like a big bucket of color or of blue and liquid and all that other stuff. But yeah, so in the vat, I usually use wood ash, hot water, and indigo leaves. That's it. A lot of people nowadays do use chemical because it's way easier and it can create a more stable environment for the vat. Um, but I just want to make sure that I'm using anything that I'm not using anything that is harmful for the land. So everything I use can go eventually go back to the earth.
I love the process and the intention, and I love like what you were talking about, the deep blue, you know. Some words that were coming to mind also were like, there's, even though it's scary, it's so calm out there, you know, in the depth of that. I mean, of course, if the water is calm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think that you'll be all alone in that depth. Um, but I'm fortunate enough and very thankful about it, but to find out that there are other people there as well. And when you're in that depth, you are able to have a deeper conversation with people from outside of your community, whether it be other religious community or people from different cultural background or people who do different things, but at the on the deep level, there is something that you could mutually share as a human being, so you get to have a yeah, real talk in that depth.
Yeah. And that's also part of why we're here today. Like, our heart is to be in those deep spaces with our friends and with people who are needy and who are asking the hard questions. And I think I'm so thankful that you have been willing to share honestly about your journey, and what you're still walking through, what you're walking through, and how you're moving towards that space of beauty and indigo blue. um, yeah, thank you so much for being willing to share your story. And like you said, it's a humanity thing. I mean, that's, in a sense, this is what we do as human beings, as kids, we are handed all of these things and we're said this is how life works, and that's the construction that happens. And then as we grow up, we have to figure out what really is happening and how we fit into that space of what this really big, huge, intricate, hard world that we live in, where a space in that is. So it's such a journey, and thank you for being willing to share yours with us. I'm so thankful. And that's our heart here, to remind people, if you're walking through a season, what we've kind of described as deconstruction, but like you said, we don't want to put labels on saying it's okay, you're just here and eventually you're going to get here, because nobody knows your journey like you do. So our heart here really is to remind people that you are not alone. What would you want people to know who are not in that space of deconstruction? What do you wish somebody would have heard, willing enough to listen?
So it was hard for me to find a safe place where I could share what was going on inside, to be really honest about the frustration I was feeling, or how depressed I was feeling, or how confused I felt. I felt like people in the church, at least the community I was in, I felt like a lot of times I was giving a cookie cutter answer, or people seem to always have a right answer to give me. So instead, I just wished that there was a space where I could be real and share, and not told what to do, or what's going to happen, but acknowledge, just simply acknowledge that I was going through a hard time, and the emotions that I was feeling was real, um, and that I'm not insane, but I'm I'm okay, that I'm. So if you're going through something similar to this, I want to let you know that you're not insane. You are actually one of the bravest people in the world. You are sane enough to doubt what you thought to be true your entire life, or it doesn't have to be your entire life, but you're okay.
We all need to be reminded of that we are normal. And what I mean, there really isn't a normal, but the reality is that it's okay. It's okay to um, ask hard questions and not know the answer. And I'm thankful again for you sharing, and for this space to talk about what's really happening. And again, that's really our heart at Bible and Pop Culture, is to have these conversations and allow space for them to happen. So I know that you have a show coming up, speaking of the indigo, and where you have found yourself now, and this place of sanctuary. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the show that's coming up?
Yes. So although this whole botanical dyeing and indigo dyeing started from a very personal place, I decided that I will take a step and share my work with others. A lot of my friends and family have been really curious and interested about what I do. And I wanted to share my work in a special, in a sacred space. And botanical dyeing looks very botanical dyed fabric looks very different under a different light, and it's very important to, for me it's important for the visitors, or my friends, to be able to see them, the color, the beautiful color under the natural light. So I just wanted to create a show where people could just come in and hang around and one, look at the artwork and the beautiful colors, but also have a dialogue where we could talk about art or colors, or spirituality or faith or whatever. Or it'll be great if I could share my own story as well. So long story short, I decided to host my first exhibition, and I'm partnering up with a amazing painter whose name is Kimi, and she also works with color blue. She uses a lot of blue in her painting, so we thought it would be just great to exhibit our work together in the same space. And with the pandemic, I wasn't really sure if I should do this or not, but I figured it will be a good opportunity for a community to have that sort of space where they could come in and pause and kind of slow down and still remember that the world is a beautiful place. So we are at the moment working very hard to make it a comfortable and safe show for everybody. We are also working hard to create a platform where people could also join online. Um, so the actual show, in-person show, will happen during the first week of April. That's only for in person, but after that, we will also do a online viewing. We haven't set a date and time for that yet, but I will keep you posted on that. We are also hosting a side event of music and poetry reading um, on April 4th, Sunday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Japan time. And that will be shared, live streamed online as well. So if you want to join, let me know. You can join from anywhere from the world. And the aim, my hope for that event is for people to just come in and sit in a place where they could kind of take in all the colors and sound and the words of poem and just reflect and be in tune with what they feel and what yeah, just enjoy themselves in that space.
I wish I could be there in person. That would be lovely. Okay, so how can we stay connected with you? Like, if people want to follow your work and the journey, where do they find you in the online world?
So my website is journeyintoblue.com. So you can visit my website, or you can follow me on Instagram at journeying into underbar blue, at journeying into underbar blue. And that's where I will be posting all the show updates and the making of as well. Also, if you are using Instagram, you can follow hashtag Beyond Colors 2021. And that's the hashtag for the show. So if you're interested in, we are also doing a fundraising for the show because of this unique situation we're all in. We are trying to figure out a new way to connect with the world as an artist and to make it a safe and comfortable show for everybody. There's been extra costs, so it would be great if you could support and cheer us on and be a part of this big project.
We're so excited for you, and like I said, I just wish I could be there in person. So we'll definitely be tuning in when we can do the viewing online, and yeah, we will be cheering you on. And I am so thankful again. I'm not going to say it enough. Like, I'm so thankful that you are willing to share this space today and to hear your journey. And I hope that there is people who will watch this and find solidarity in what you've shared, and know that there is safe spaces to talk about what is really happening, and what you're really feeling. And even if it's so opposite from what you ever thought was possible or what you ever knew before.
If you are someone who's going through a difficult time with your faith background or spiritual background, if you want to contact me and continue this chat in a personal space, then yeah, I would say feel free to contact me. Find me on Facebook at Yuzuri Nagai, and I'll be happy to chat with you.
Yes, absolutely. And we're hoping to figure out what it would look like to continue the conversation, also as part of Bible and pop culture, and in a a community setting in that way. So yeah, we'll keep in touch and talk about what that looks like. Thank you, Yuzuri. We are excited for your upcoming show, and we're thankful that you have been vulnerable and shared your heart with us today. We will see you all next time. Aloha.